So today it is my joy and honor to welcome Catholic content creator and ministry leader, Gen Z to Christ, Diego. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. I wanted to jump in by saying, how did you start creating the Gen Z to Christ content and how did you come up with inspiration?
Inspiration and how I got started. Well, the inspiration actually, I started coming back to the church and I started being more in touch with my faith. And along with that came across a lot of Catholic content or just non-Catholic content actually as well that I was watching. And as I was diving into like other faiths and seeing that there's actually differences between Catholicism and like other denominations, started seeing some differences in opinions and differences in like questioning my faith or objections towards my faith. And that's what dug me to dig a little bit deeper into theology and whatnot. And eventually, I stumbled upon a podcast. I don't know if I should name it, but there was a podcast of other Christian denominations together, and they all kind of said their piece on the Eucharist. And it was, I think I can name drop it. It's been like almost 2 years. Uh, It was the George Janko Christian Avengers podcast. When
Mm.
I watched that podcast, it was infamously known to like just completely just dog on the Eucharist, and that podcast really spoke to me and was like, no, I need to make content. Like I need to make content on Catholicism because I have 7 years of content creation experience. I used to do gaming content for 7 to 8 years now, and I've grown to like 500,000 followers on a separate account. And I did that for so long. Like literally, as soon as I turned 18, I immediately just started making gaming content. Didn't really work out for a couple of years, but then finally it blew up. Said a lot of bad things on there. I'm not gonna lie, like a lot of, a lot of like swearing, a lot of weird. I was not nearly as Catholic as I was now. I wasn't even practicing at all back then, but I was into the content creator space, the secular content creator space, the gaming creator space. So it was very gamer esque, if you can imagine. And but it taught me a lot of things. It taught me a lot about numbers. It taught me a lot about what to do for content creation, for short form, even to the long form YouTube content. And it brought me how what brand deals have to deal like, or how it taught me how to deal with brand deals, and it taught me how to deal with like agencies to like help me out get those. So there was a lot of experience involved in meeting other creators as well. But ultimately, I got bored from that stuff, and I was 7 years later. I was like, I'm kind of bored playing these games now. I 24, 25, and I'm like, um, what else can I do? And then that podcast came up, and I was like, I
Mm.
know what to do. I know what to do. So, because I had literally no other hobbies. Like 7 years, as soon as I turned 18, just nothing but gaming and like sleepless nights making videos. So, like, I had no other hobby. And then I got into Catholicism, and I was like, oh, I like Catholicism. Why not make videos on that? And then I kind of pushed it off for a while. And then finally, when that podcast dropped, I was like, nope, I got to do it. So, that's how I got started in the inspiration pretty much.
Wow, that was the
So
catalyst. That's
it
fun.
was.
How do you continue that? I get so many ideas, like continued inspiration.
Um, well, it's very hard doing comedy. It's very hard doing skits because you can only do so many skits. I was not expecting to do this in the beginning. I was just doing like theology argumental videos or whatever.
Okay.
But it was my first time like actually doing it and speaking it out. So, it's one thing to know the theology, it's another thing to be able to speak it. And
Yeah.
I wasn't doing too well. And also, because I came from the content creator gaming space, my
Mhm.
voice and the way I speak is very, hey guys, what's up? And then when I have that type of tone whilst talking about theology and making arguments,
Mm.
people think it's me being prideful, but I'm not. I just have that uppity voice when I'm
Mhm.
making videos. So it was ingrained in me, and like it just made everything I made look like I was being prideful or like trying to dunk on people's arguments or something. And then a couple of death threats later,
Ooh.
I I stopped making content for like a little bit for like 8 months, and then I was like, nah, I need to come back. I need to come back and do it again. I need to try this because it was lingering in my mind for a bit when I stopped making the content, and I was like, I need to go back and do that. I need to go back and do that. And then, so when I came back into Catholic content creation, I started doing funny videos, skit videos, and I've never done those ever in my life, like even in my gaming stuff. I mean, in a way, but this one was with my face involved, and that I've never done. And just started trying out some new things, testing the waters, looking what other people do, and try to add my own spin onto it. And ultimately, the ideas just kind of came from looking at what other people are doing, but then just add my own spin to it, or just look at what other people are not making videos on, and then I can do that. So I saw a trend where people love African priests, that they love African priests so much, and I'm like, why don't I just make an African priest like in confession video? And that's where the African priest videos came from on my account, and those were like the difference makers. I made a couple of videos viral before then, but then I think I get, whenever people meet me in person, the first thing they say is the African priest videos. That's the first thing
Okay.
that people talk about. So I think that kind of catapulted me very fairly far, but then other videos came in, and then other ideas came in, and just hours of constant just thinking and low key doom scrolling to kind of spark ideas.
Mm.
And that, like, literally just taking notes. As soon as I figure out something, just write it down and I'll figure it out later. So I have like a whole notes on my phone, like scrolls worth full of ideas. Most of them are kind of meh, but then I'm like, once I get the one where I'm like, this is really funny, then I do that one. So yeah,
Nice.
that's how I still come up with content. But I'm hoping to shift, more into the um, theology based stuff. I love the comedy. I love what I've been able to do in the Catholic space, actually bringing joy and like laughter into the Catholic space, because not many people do that. Most Catholic creators just dunk on other Protestants. And I'm like, look, not everything has to be a debate to the point where we are debating kissing. So
Yeah.
I'm like, why are we debating everything known to man, even our own
Mm.
Catholic brothers and sisters? Why are we doing that? So I
Yeah.
wanted to just bring comedy and laughter into the Catholic space online, because I started getting really tired of the other Catholic content that I was seeing. So I would like to make that shift into theology and whatever, but I probably wouldn't do it in a short form sense. Probably in YouTube, long form sense. I feel like in short form, it's just very easy for people to perceive you as just trying to dunk on people, because you can't go over theology in just like 30 to 2 minutes,
Yeah.
like 30 seconds to 2 minutes. You can't do that. So I think to do it in a genuine way, and it's not looking like you're just trying to bash someone, I think a YouTube video is very good for that. Or in person, which I've done recently, which is way better. So
Yes. Ooh, I love that. It is
mhm.
fun. I do appreciate your reels that are they're just funny. Like you're not trying to make, I think there was one where you're like, I don't, there was like a little puppy in the seat next to you. And you were like,
Yes.
going to mass. And I was like, this is just so wholesome. And like the puppy was so cute. He looked like very confused about why the camera was coming to his face, but it was like adorable. I was like, it was like just a moment of like laughter.
Hmm.
Where, yeah, I just think that that's really good too. And like you're saying, not everything has to be debate. And that's a fun perspective to bring.
Thank you.
I wanted to jump to the death threats because
Mm,
that sounds kind of terrible.
mm,
I was kind of curious, like you came back, like I guess I'm wondering, like,
hmm.
where did you find the courage to come back after that? And then also, like, why were people getting so riled up when you're posting content, like religious content online?
Right. I mean, whenever you're making arguments against other people's faiths and beliefs,
Mm.
There's going to be some radical people that are going to find it a very offensive, especially if they think you're coming in a tone of pridefulness.
Mm.
And yeah, so that was typically I would assume the reason why that I would assume that's the reason why that they DM'd me and they would say some things. Some people found out where I lived, like not exactly where, but like the city. And I'm just like, that's weird.
Oh,
And they start trying to figure out what parish I'm from and whatever. And I'm just like, ooh.
oh.
I'm like, ooh. So that kind of discouraged me a little bit when I was first doing like theological videos when I first started Catholic content. And then, which was a blessing and a curse because it drove me towards
Mm.
this content that I have now, the funny stuff, the making people laugh, and just bringing smiles to the Catholic faith, and which is ultimately what I really like to do. And I really love that. And I love either teaching people the faith in person, but then just making people laugh and, online.
That's a good balance. There's this Oscar, I think it's an Oscar Wilde quote actually, where he said, "If you're going to tell the truth, make sure you make people laugh, otherwise they'll kill you."
Mm,
Something like that along those lines. I'm pretty sure it was Oscar Wilde, but I'll have to double check that. But there was a quote along those lines where I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Um,
that does make sense.
Sometimes that can kind of be the vibe. But
Right. That's good.
yeah. Um, let's talk a little bit about one of the youngest saints we have who also liked media as a way to
Mm,
connect. That is Saint Carlo. I think you mentioned him on your platform, but I'd love to kind of expand
yes.
and hear more. How can we learn from him? What can we learn from him? And how has he inspired you?
Yes. So when I started coming back to the Catholic faith around like 2022, I started going into young adult ministry because I wanted to go somewhere where I can like, meet other people and like to learn again. Because I was basically like everything I learned from when I was like 10 years old, 12 years old, my first communion, all that stuff out the window. Like I didn't pay attention. I feel like a lot of us didn't, we were just there because our parents made us go and whatever. But, you know, when I wanted to come back, and I really appreciate my parents forcing me to go because it, gave me the building block to at least come back eventually.
Mm.
I think at least my personal role of parenting, I'm not a parent, but when I do become one, if I do, God willing, um, if that is my vocation, um, that's, well, how does it go? I usually say, you teach your kids, you teach your kids you don't teach your kids to understand, you just teach your kids something for them to understand later. Like you don't like they're
Mhm.
never gonna understand now. They're gonna hate you, they're gonna get mad at you or whatever. This is probably a way better and beautiful way to put it. But they're gonna get mad at you at the moment. They're gonna be like, I don't want to go to church, I don't want to go to mass, I don't want to go to this or whatever. But then eventually when they become older and they understand like, oh, okay, that's why mom and dad did it.
Mm.
That's why they did it. That's why they did it. So now I realized that when I was like 22. And um, during young adult ministry, we were learning about a saint. His name was Saint Carlo Acutis. And I was like, who is this guy? I never heard of him. And they were like, oh yeah, he's like a very young, like millennial saint. I'm like, millennial saint. I'm like, that's weird. And then started watching like a documentary on him, played video games, made a website and whatever about Eucharistic miracles. So I'm like, it was a big shot in the face to me. The reason why is because I'm like, this like kid who was like 13, 14, 15, whatever age he was when he was building these websites, use the power of the internet to spread the faith at a time where it was probably very difficult to use the internet or to make a website. And here I am for the last 7 years of my life, made goofy videos on TikTok or whatever, just making stupid videos on video games and like not bringing anyone close to Christ. I'm like, ooh, that was like a big like punch in the face. That was the first like spark of like I should be doing Catholic content. What am I doing wasting my talents on this other
Mm.
stuff? What the heck? What am I doing? He used his talents for God. I'm using it to be goofy and make these views on TikTok or whatever. I'm like, this is stupid. And um I was doing to put it in perspective, see the big drastic difference. My gaming content was I would play video games, competitive shooters, which are people love to play and to improve on them and get better. They watch tutorials online or whatever and guides to get better at them. And I would I would pretend, or I would do an accent. I'm half Latino, so I would do like an accent of a Mexican cholo. Like I would pretend to be like a Mexican cholo or whatever, and then just do that accent and like teach the person online to how to play the game or how to improve at the game. So it would basically be skits, but faceless skits, and the little character in the game is me doing a voiceover. And then the little character's moving and it looks funny, and he's a little Mexican cholo, and I would make Mexican jokes and whatever, and swear at Mexican swear words and whatever. And yeah, so I did that for like 5 years out of the 7. So
Very different content. So
very different content. And now I'm doing Catholic content. So very,
well,
very different change of life. Huge difference.
but still, I love that it built on what you'd built a structure then to know how to move
Hmm.
forward in the other side of things. So still
Yes.
useful skills in the next path, just slightly different aim. But um so yeah, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about how to pursue our dreams or our passions, things that we love like this, while keeping kind of Christ central.
While keeping Christ central. Honestly, I think prayer is very important. You have to keep, prayer in your life. And I would say keeping that first. Like it's a lot harder for a lot of other people because they go into Catholic creation and they're new to the people go into Catholic creation brand new to the social media world when it comes to like creating content. Like their first ever step of creating content is Catholic creation. And they've never seen 10 million views a month, 15 million views, 20, whatever, or even like 1 million or 500K a month, right? They have
Mhm.
never seen that before and seeing these numbers come up. And the problem with that is it's scary because it can force force them into this situation where I went through. Like I already went through the chapters of loving the numbers, loving when people recognize me, loving when people like message me and praise me and whatever. And you become fairly prideful, and you start thinking like that you're the boss and that you're like super cool and whatever. And all those people in high school, see, look at me now, like that type of vibe or
Yeah.
whatever. And I've already went through that, and it's very scary. I'm not saying any of these creators are doing that, are in that type of perception now, but I could only imagine,
Mhm.
for me, I felt that. And then with these people who are making Catholic content now and their first time blowing up, they might end up mixing views and numbers with their faith in Christ. And
Ooh.
that's not a good combo,
No.
because you'll be like, oh, now I need to study theology because it'll make views. Or now I need to make up a funny
Oh,
video because it makes views. So that is not good, right? That is a very scary place to be. And there's a good balance. Like of course, like if you put effort into a video, you put effort into editing, then you want the video to do well because you spend time and effort into it. That's totally understandable. But if anyone was like me back in like 2022 when I first started blowing up on like gaming content, and I was so money hungry. No, I wasn't money hungry. I wasn't making anything back then, but I wasn't, or I was very view hungry. I would be so upset when a video did like 100,000 views back then,
oh.
because because that was very low to me. That was very low to me. And because I was making like a million here, a million there, 500, 900, 500, 700. And so once I got like 100K, I'm like, it's over. This sucks. I'm never doing this again. It's like my dreams are ruined or whatever.
No.
And then imagine you feel that way towards Catholic content. Like
Oh.
that's not good. That's not good. And um sometimes your mind will like just want to learn more about Christ, not for yourself, but because you just want to look better on the internet. And
Mm.
That's not good. So I'm happy that I went through the 7 years of, you know, doing this other stuff because I'm past that. I don't care. I'm not making nearly as much as I used to views wise on my gaming stuff compared to now. So, um, so yeah, so I'm happy that I, went through that.
Wow, that's a really interesting perspective of like you almost it sounds like there's this learning curve of like you see the views come in, you're like, whoa, this is awesome. And it's
Hmm.
hard not to get wrapped up in that. And okay, this is actually something I do not have a ton of views on, any of my platforms yet. But this is something I've thought about. Like there have been a couple of videos that got more views than normal, and there is something in your brain that's just like, great, whatever we can do, let's do that again. And
Right,
it is something I've been trying to think of it very intentionally about like how do I guard if there's a video that does well? I want to make sure I'm doing creating stuff that I don't know, helps people, blesses them in some way, blesses the people I'm talking with, and not go view hungry. But do you have any insight? Like how do you quicken the
right.
curve of like, whoa, views,
Quickly,
over that. Yeah.
right. I mean, how do you quicken that? I mean, well, when I was first doing like when I was first making a lot of views, I wasn't Catholic at all, so I wasn't having a prayer life. I
Mm,
wasn't. I mean, obviously, I was Catholic, but I wasn't having a prayer life. I wasn't going to mass. I wasn't receiving the Eucharist. I wasn't going to confession. I didn't know anything about theology. Nothing. So back then, I wasn't spiritually. I was very spiritually poor. I was very spiritually poor.
mm,
So people that go into this Catholic content creation space and they're making up all these views, they're coming in, at least I hope, spiritually nourished for the most part.
mm,
They are, coming in with hopefully a active prayer life, an active, church life and whatever. So they're coming in with a little bit more humble mindset than I was going in. But still that learning curve is there. How in tune with their faith are there where how in tuned in their faith are they that when those big views do come in that they don't let it get to their head.
mm.
So because anyone can fall for that. Anyone can fall for that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a constant fluctuation. So it's like every day you get to have a new challenge of making sure you
Right.
kind of know where your value comes from or where your joy comes from, that kind of thing,
Right.
which is really
Right. I would
nice.
say just keep prayer life. Keep it whatever. Like I haven't posted really too much in the last 2 months because
Hmm.
I don't care.
Oh,
Because
that's
I
cool.
don't I don't care too much about like my social media. I still want to do this. Like I still absolutely want to do this. I pray that like, that this can spark some opportunities for me where I could do this full time, where I could make a living, doing this stuff. I don't want to be like buying Bugattis or whatever. I don't care about that. But like something to where like if this could be like who wouldn't
Yeah.
want, their life to their livelihood to come from like spreading the gospel or spreading the faith or
Mm,
whatever, like that would be absolutely amazing. And I hope I get to that point, but I'm not worshiping it anymore. I'm not
yeah.
like caring too
Mm,
much about the numbers or whatever like I used to with the gaming stuff. So I haven't posted that much in the last 2 months because I enjoy more my young adult ministry that I help run. I
mm,
love teaching the young adults and like the people who are coming back to the faith as I was 3 years ago. They're coming back. They're new.
mm.
They barely even know what goes on in the mass. So we're teaching them things or whatever things that they weren't taught in a while. They haven't been to confession since they were like 7 years old. So you got to teach them these. Like that's what I love. I love doing that in person. I love doing that
Wow.
connection. And even with like the youth group, I also help out. With the youth group, that's a little bit of a different flavor because like it's kids who are just like me who didn't really care. They're just kind of there because they're
Mm,
forced to. So that's a new challenge is trying to teach some people or some kids that also don't care too much. So, but there are times for sure when, I do a good talk with them and then they nod their head or they ask really good questions. And I'm like, yes, like good, good. Ultimately my goal for the kids that I help, work in youth group with my goal is to make sure that they have a good time in youth group. That's the goal. Like, the
yes.
theology I teach them or the fun things about Jesus I teach them, hopefully they keep on to it. But if they're just like me, they might just forget it in like 5 years. But the whole thing that they will remember is that I had a good time in youth group. I met Dominican friars, or I met
Yes.
friars of whatever. I met these cool like people who wanted to be priests at like 20 years old or something, which thankfully at our youth group, that does happen. They do meet
Awesome.
they see these guys that look young in their 20s, and they're like in a little wizard outfit, and it's just like,
Yes.
whoa, you're so cool, right? Yeah, I never saw that. If I saw that when I was young, I would be like, well, that's pretty cool. So then now they want to listen to this guy, and they're like, yeah, I wanted to be a priest when I was in college. So to them, that's like so weird but fascinating. And as long as they get the experience of, I had a good time in youth group, I had a good time at the church,
Mm.
I had plenty of fun experiences, then perfect. Like that could knock on the door when they're 20, and they want to come back, because not everyone's Carlo Acutis, unfortunately. I was not. I was not. So, some people, they just come back later when they're in the young adults or whatever. So that's the goal for youth group for me. So that's what I personally love doing.
Oh, that's really fun. I remember when I was first getting into teaching, and I was like I think it was my first year. I was asking, all the veteran teachers, like, what's your advice? And somebody, actually, I think multiple people told me, kids are not going to remember what you teach them, but they are going to remember how you make them feel.
Oh yeah.
Remember being like, one, that's a little discouraging if I'm spending like, my entire life lesson planning, and
Hmm.
they're not going to remember the grammar concepts that I'm teaching. But also it was kind of freeing and really a good reminder of like when you show up, like I want them to have fun. Like let's just make this fun. When they think of this topic, they're thinking of I don't know, there's joy there. That has such an impact too. And so yeah, I've seen it true in I teach English, so like in
Mm.
composition and literature classes, but I've definitely seen it true at like church events as well, being like, yeah, if we just
Right.
there's this joy here, then that's I don't know, that has a deep impact and a lasting impact. That's really cool. That might not be theological knowledge, but has such value and it's exciting as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's fun.
Absolutely. Awesome. But
Um,
you do teaching for kids as well, for the church as well?
I've led a couple youth groups, small groups, and then I've done like family formation. That was with like first graders though. So I usually
Mhm.
teach I teach like between fourth through 12th grade in like my English classrooms. My at church it just varies depending on the year and like where there's need and how it works with my schedule.
Right.
So yeah, I've done
Right.
some youth group talks, some small group leading, some just teaching the first
Awesome.
graders to like trying to explain concepts to them and I'm like, well, you have a sheep. That's the important thing. You had fun making a sheep. Go home and
Yeah, yeah.
we'll try it again later.
Right.
It's really fun.
Right.
So
That's
it's really
good.
fun. Um, yeah, I'd love to hear too about the ministry. I think I've seen some
Hmm.
stuff about you're saying like in-person ministry is something that
Yeah.
you're growing or have built. I'd love to hear like what is that? What's the goals, things like that.
Yeah, it is still in the works right now, but like I have a really good idea for it. I was in Sacramento. I live in the Bay Area, by the way. I live in the
Oh,
Bay Area, California. So I was in Sacramento earlier, a couple of weeks ago, and I made a post on my story. I was like, "Hey guys, where's some fun places to go in Sacramento?" And then a lot of people, well, like 20 plus people were telling me, "Oh, go here, go here, go there, go here." And I'm like, how many people like live in Sacramento that
that's
like
so
follow me?
cool.
Like, how many is that? Like, I mean, it could be people that just visited there for a bit or like traveled. I don't know. I guess people travel from far lands to go to Sacramento, but I know it's a capital, but I'm like, it's nothing special to me, but I don't know. But uh, a lot of people like knew some areas in Sacramento. So I'm like, okay, they're familiar. Like, how many people like live in the Sacramento or Bay Area?
Awesome.
So I'm really thinking on, because I love doing young adult ministry and I love doing in-person ministry. So I'm really thinking like, what if I do a poll on my Instagram at some time, maybe hopefully this week, I can do a poll and just see like, hey, who's in the, if I do a young adult ministry, like a physical ministry in person, like, is there anyone in the Sacramento area or the Bay Area that'd be down to go, or anywhere else that'd be down to go, like for something that happens like once every month or once every 2 months, something like that? Because I already got people from the young adult ministry that I lead, and then on top of that, people from like other like parts of the area that possibly know who I am. can come through as well and bring their friends as well and like do some big event or whatever. Just go to a park and just barbecue and just have a Bible study session or something. I'll figure it out. But
That's so
something like
fun.
that. That'd be so yeah, that'd be like so cool. So
Oh
yeah.
my gosh. That's so fun. I like that. Okay, I'm seeing some content creators shift, like use the platform to then lead into in-person things. And there's this idea
Yes.
of like, let's build community online because it's, it's just a really good way to connect right now. And then let's bring that into like face-to-face interactions. And that's so like that's exciting to me. Like I don't know all the logistics of how that works, but it sounds like it's working, like it's a very natural like progression for you, and that's really exciting.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I would love to. But my biggest inspiration, I would say in terms of the long term of
Hmm.
what I want to do is the homie, which was very surreal that he followed me. His name is Paul J. Kim. Like
Oh, I've heard.
I I one time when I was young, I'm so young, when I was a kid, my church had like a little event or whatever. I forgot where we went, but we went to some place and there was a stage. There was like other churches there, and then he was there. And then he did like a little stand-up comedy session where he talked about God and talked about whatever. He was preaching and saying a lot of great things. And for me, again, as a kid, I forgot everything that he told us. But I had a good old time. Like I remember some things. I do remember some things. It was a very memorable time for me. And um, that's what I would love to do. I would
Mm,
love to do that. I would love to just go to different parishes, go to different churches or whatever. I won't charge a thing. Like I will gladly do like a talking session for their youth or their young adult or whatever in certain areas. I've known some people in the Bay Area who are in those ministries and like they know who I am. So like technically that opportunity is there for me to do that. But
mm,
I don't know how to go about it. So I'll have to figure that out. I think first step would be have my own thing or whatever, and
yeah.
then move on from there. But that's technically really what I want to get into eventually, because I do want to do theological debates. I do want to, talk to people, have conversations with opposing positions for sure. And I think that would really help out people among all the faiths of Christianity. But at the same time, I just want joy, have fun, mess around, and
Mhm.
like spread the gospel that way. So something I would do for sure.
Multifaceted. That's really fun.
Hmm.
It's actually really funny. I was born in Modesto, and so a lot of my
Oh,
family's still in that area. So I was like,
oh, cool.
my Bay Area. I'm like, yeah, there's lots of great. That's a fun. That's a
I've been I've been around the Lathrop Stockton area,
okay.
and then the farthest I went down was Manteca.
Okay,
Manteca. But Modesto's still kind of far though from Manteca, right?
I think so. I,
Okay.
I
Okay,
mean, I
never
was.
mind.
I haven't. I don't. Yeah, I was. It was pretty young when I was there, so I wasn't like
Oh no, you're good. You're good. I
driving
got
around.
you.
But yeah, not there now. But just go back for trips and stuff, and yeah,
Nice.
it's fun. Anyways,
Awesome.
that's a tangent. But oh, I've we've started seeing graphs and news articles saying Gen Z is converting really quickly to
Hmm.
Catholicism, and
Hmm.
I was kind of curious to hear. You have the handle Gen Z to Christ, so why is Gen Z converting so quickly? What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, it could be a lot of things. I think social media has really helped out. Like social media could be like a double-edged sword at times where it can be used for bad things to like manipulate young people's minds, which unfortunately we've seen happen for the past like 7 years.
Mhm.
But it's also used to like evangelize, to bring people to the faith. As much as like for example, as much as I completely disagree theologically with for example, a big guy like Cliff and Stewart, right? They have
Mhm.
probably like brought like so many people to the faith in such a good way because they're very good at evangelizing. And
Mm.
but I think with that spark of the big spark of evangelicalism on the internet, which is the most popular form of Christianity in on the internet, that is shifting, like you're mentioning. It is shifting, but I think it's shifting because of that the Catholic voices have been lower in terms of number, but now that number is growing and the voice is getting louder. So I think we're still a small number on the internet, but our voices are very loud now, very loud. So it's
Mm.
very small number of people, but very loud. We have tons of new theological guys, the voice of reasons of the world, the Jesus and whatnots of the world, the Catholic Sams of the world, the Trent Horns, and all these guys, right? You have a lot of these dudes, especially the young ones like Catholic Sam and Jesus and whatnot. They You have young people coming out and talking about theology, and that's really good because it's coming in and just bringing that. It's at least showing that there are differences in denominations, and that's super impressive. That's enough to get people start questioning.
Yeah.
And I think with all the lies that Gen Z has been given the past like 7 years with a lot of things politically and socially, I think now we're starting to like now if my generation is in their early 20s now, like they're COVID was not too long ago, and now they're seeing everything else that follows along with it that they're also being lied about. So it's like they're kind of fed up. I think Gen Z is fed up with like being gaslit. Now they're realizing we're being gaslit. Everything is just gaslighting.
Mm.
So I think Gen Z is starting to really figure that out. And also with the evangelicalism, a lot of it, unfortunately, doesn't have too much of a ground base. A lot of it is very emotion and a very stuck on the evangelicalism part or evangelization parts, but not on the theology part.
Oh.
And that's what's really good about evangelicals. They're very good at evangelizing. But from there on, when people start asking questions and now the internet's open, you see Orthodox people going on Brian DeVia's podcast. You're seeing
Mhm.
a Catholic guy go on George Janko's podcast. And then the girls, what are they called? Girls Gone Bible, for example, right? These very Protestant podcasts never touched a single Catholic or apostolic churchgoer in the last like 7 years until like the last 2 years, right?
Mm.
So just now they're fine. Like the Girls Gone Bible finally put up a Orthodox guy recently, like literally like less than a month ago. George Janko put in a Catholic guy, Voice of Reason, just 2 years ago. And then Sam Shimon was supposed to be on there too, but that's a whole other story. And then so yeah, like you're starting to see finally this Catholic push. And now it's like you can't hide it, you can't hide from it anymore. The voices are too
Mm.
loud. Like I said, it's a small number still, but they're getting too loud. It's to the point where we have to put them on the podcast. We gotta put them on the podcast now. So because if you don't, it's not only the Catholics, but it's gonna be the Orthodox too. And it's gonna be on their butt. So
Mm.
um, now we're seriously seeing that big shift, and I'm really happy about it. And I'm a little late to the party. I came in this year, so but I'm hoping as time goes on, God has been blessing me with everything that I get bigger, and then the ministry grows, and hopefully I can open more doors from this as well.
Oh, that's really exciting. That's so
Mhm.
fun. It's fun to hear the shift that's happening on the internet, because I feel like there's this Chesterton quote that was, not a lot of people actually hate Catholicism, but they do hate what they think it is. And I
Right.
think it's fair because there's been a lot of stereotypes of what
Hmm.
people want to say Catholics are like or Catholicism is. And so as there are more and more voices, like you're saying, on the internet, on podcasts, that's going to shatter the illusion a little bit of like what
Right.
Catholicism is and what they sound
Right.
like, how they are. There's so many different kinds of people and what do they actually believe. So it's exciting to hear that.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's one thing last thing I'll add to that is there's not enough Catholic evangelists out there. I
Mm.
think Catholicism, the one thing Catholicism really lacks among the entire church in the US is that we do not have any evangelists. They're out there. They are out there. But
Oh.
again, I have to say they're out there. I can't put a name or I can't put an organization. They are out there, but they are just their voices aren't very loud. We have a lot of apologists. We have a lot. We have Boys of Reason, Dread Horde, Jimmy Aiken, everyone at Catholic Answers. We got the new guys, Jesus and whatnot, Catholic Sam, all these dudes, right? But
Mm.
we don't have any evangelists. We are constantly sitting at our desk at home, arguing against Protestants, arguing against kissing with other
That was the
Catholics.
thing. Yeah.
When we and no, none of these. Ooh, I'm not trying to diss them, but none of these guys, unfortunately, are going out and doing it in person. You know,
Oh,
they're not going out into doing evangelization on the streets. Do what like Cliff and Stewart are doing. Do what they do, but just do it on the street. Do it on the street because we unfortunately just don't have that. And for me, being in the Bay Area, I really have that strong inclination to want to do that. I
wow.
really want to do that. Like I want to go to SF and just start doing some
Yes.
evangelization there or whatever. Like it's the best spot. I have the hot spot for like evangelization. So I really want to do that. And I've prayed in adoration. I've prayed. I go to adoration a lot, and I've prayed in there. And a lot of my prayers have been answered through adoration. And 2 times I've asked, may I like what is it you want me to do, God? Do you want me to evangelize? Do you want me to spread your faith? Do you want me to spread the church? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?
Mm.
And then shortly later, I get invited into a podcast to talk about Mother Mary. And then I got onto that. So again, wants me to defend the faith. Okay, thank you. So start doing that. So like I'm moving into like doing long form podcasts and doing these conversations to get practicing in these long form these long form conversations in person with the opposite point of view. And if I can do that, if I can deal with someone who is theologically sound, probably wrong in my book or wrong in the Catholic book, but at least knows what they're talking about, how much easier would it be me going to San Francisco for people who don't know anything or people who have a very atheistic point of view? So eventually I want to do that. So right now I do have some stuff lined up to have those conversations,
Okay.
and which hopefully I can make an announcement about it later on. And I'm hoping that like with that practice, because nothing makes you learn more about your faith more than like you're going to be on camera with 5 cameras on you, and you're going to get mic'd, and it's going to be posted on YouTube. And I'm like, ooh, so that makes you just
Oh.
lock in. So that's the plan for right now.
Oh, that's exciting. Reminds me of my dad. He loves evangelizing, kind of like you're saying. So he went to a Bible school in Canada for a little while, and then when he came back though, I don't know the whole timeline, but he and his friends, they would like get their guitars. I think there were like 3 of them.
Oh,
They would go into like a super, this is not safe, but this they go to a super sketchy part of Chicago and just start playing praise and
oh,
worship.
jeez.
And like they have insane stories. Like they should be dead so many times over, and they're not,
Hmm.
thank God. But it's just like just going in, and then like after people would come up, they like listen to their music, but then also just like ha start conversations. And like, so he would share those stories with me as a little kid, and just like this kind of expectation of like, all right, so how are you gonna go out? How are you gonna have good conversations? How are you gonna reach people? And
Hmm.
it is it's been fascinating, like with the rise of social media, then thinking like, okay, this is kind of how we do that same thing, like a similar thing at least. I go out and, have conversations, but I like your point of like maybe we can like let's push that in person more. Let's get the guitars back out and go, maybe not into the sketchiest part we can find of Chicago. I think he like got to I think he like got to a church nearby and was like, all right, what's the worst street? And they're like, that one.
Hmm.
Don't go on that one. He's like, all right, got it. Guys, let's go. And like, I was like, that's, just trying to reach like where are there a lot of people who could actually benefit from this, some uplifting music and have a conversation. And yeah, I think it's inspiring to hear your story of, yeah, we're gonna start having more in person. Let's lean into this.
Thank you.
People
Thank
are
you.
people are hungry, I think, for that in-person conversation too. So
Yeah, we need it. We need it. Instead of bringing back souls into the faith, we need to get new souls too. We need converts equally as we need reverts. So
Hmm.
that's just my view on it.
That's really cool. Yeah, there's so many, yeah, so many people there who could. I feel like yeah, there's a hunger there for something true, real, and
Hmm.
beautiful. And yeah, you're right. We need them too.
Absolutely.
All right. Do you have any words of encouragement for any Gen Z or Gen Alpha who feel like living out their faith is really countercultural and hard? And I'm wondering if you have any like words of insight for any older generations who might kind of be worried about the future of the church.
Ooh. Well, I would say for anyone who is Gen Z or what is it, Gen Alpha? Is it
Yeah.
Gen Alpha? Okay, I don't even know the new term. So for anyone who is Gen Z and Gen Alpha, I would say if you're really in tune with your faith, if you do love your faith, or if you want to learn more about your faith, I say stick to the sacraments. Stick to the sacraments.
Mhm.
The church is a spiritual hospital. The sacraments are not ways for us to work for God's love or God's grace. It is ways for God's love and God's grace to work within us.
Mm.
So it is absolutely needed. You need the sacraments. Don't stay away from them. Keep them in your life. This is a relationship with Christ. So a relationship involves just like a two-way street. You need to spend time with God. You need to spend time with Him in His Word, whether it's reading His scriptures, whether it's going to Mass and hearing the scriptures, or whether it's praying the rosary and visualizing the scriptures, or and you know you can't you cannot grow a relationship with anybody if you don't see him. You can listen to God through his word by reading the Bible. You can speak to God when you pray to him, but if you just have those two things and you don't have the Eucharist, you have no way of seeing him in person. So that's one thing to say towards people who are non-Catholic, people who don't believe in the true presence of the Eucharist. If you don't have the Eucharist, if your church does not have the Eucharist, all you have is speech to God. You can talk to God. Oh my goodness, my camera. If you don't have the Eucharist, then all you really have is being able to speak to God in prayer, hearing his word through the Bible, but you have no means of seeing him in person. So, what kind of relationship is that? That is called a long distant relationship. You speak to a person on the phone, you hear them, you listen to them, but you don't see him in person. So, therefore, you have a long distant relationship with God, and that's very scary. It's very scary. So, Eucharist is everything. It's the way you see God in person, and you're not really a best friend with someone if you don't see them in person. You gotta like really see them in person to like really get to know them very well. So you need the Eucharist. And so anyone who is Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they need the Eucharist very much, and confession. Confession is so it's free therapy session. Like if Gen Z and Gen Alpha are struggling with some type of mental illnesses or whatever, which happens a lot with our generation, unfortunately, it's free therapy. It's free therapy. You get to go to confession, and it literally takes 5 minutes. It's scary at first, but it's literally just 5 minutes if you do it correctly. And you get free words of encouragement depending on the priest. Some priests will literally not say anything, they'll just absolve you for your sins, and that's it. And to some people, that might be really good. So they might eliminate their fear of being judged. I'm like, okay, well, he just gave you a drive-by absolution. That's it. You're gone. So therefore, it's even easier. It's even easier. So, um, yeah, it's free therapy. Just to let things off your chest. Just feel free to go. So stay with the Eucharist, stay in prayer, and just do something every day. Do something every day, whether it's mass, prayer, confession, something every day. You have a whole repertoire of guns, of spiritual guns to use. Like just use one a day, and that's it. So that's what I would say for sure.
Oh, I like that. That's fun. Yeah, it's funny when you have, like the different freestyles. So you're like, what am I feeling today for confession? Like, do I want
Mhm.
the long, like the feedback, the helpful, or am I trying to go for a quick one? Like, yeah, there's that too. Awesome. And then what
Mhm.
about for the older generations who are worried about the future of the church? What's going to happen next?
I would say that the future of the church is in good hands. I think it starts now with Gen Z. Gen Z is typically right now is like, I don't know what the ages are, but I think Gen Z is like early 20s right now on average, I would say. So now it's any Gen Z Catholics like just need to keep the faith and have families and bring their kids up in the faith, like bring your kids up in the faith the way how you wish you were brought up in the faith. Because like I wish I was brought up in the faith in a different way, but I'm glad the way I was brought up. But if I was brought it up earlier, or if I had a more Catholic home, then like that would, I think I wouldn't have like slipped away from the faith. But you know, I would say have kids, have kids young, research on the Eucharist. I think that's a big one. I think if you fall in love with the Eucharist, you will never cease to be Catholic. If you
That's
fall in
yeah.
love with the Eucharist, you will never cease to be Catholic. And follow along with that. If you fall in love with Mary and you become more Marian and you study Mary and you try to be more like her, then you will never cease to be Christian, period. Therefore, you also wouldn't cease to be Catholic either. So, because if what is maximum? I forgot. I hit the first late. Kobe, what Saint Kobe says, um, never worry about loving Mary too much because you can never love Mary as much as Jesus did.
Mm,
So you can pray to her for 1,000 hours. It still doesn't overcome 1 hour of the mass. 1 hour of the mass is 1,000 times more powerful than like 1,000 hours of prayer with Mary. So, because some people will be afraid, like, should I be praying to Mary? Am I praying her too much? Am I praying to her too much? Am I talking to her too much? What
oh.
we give to Jesus in the Mass is far greater of worship or far greater of reverence than what could we ever give to Mary.
Mm.
Because a sacrifice at the Mass, we're literally offering a sacrifice to the Father, which is Jesus in an unbloody, unhorrifying manner
Mhm.
in the Lord's Supper, in the new Passover meal of the Lamb. So this is far greater than any source of prayer that we could give to any saint. So like, never be too afraid to pray to Mary as much as you can. So like, because regardless, you're giving something better to Jesus, which is literally worship and sacrifice in the Mass. So get close to Mary.
So get close to Mary and go to Mass. That's what I'm hearing too. Go to Mass
Mm-hmm.
more often. I
Mm-hmm.
love that. One thing I've been thinking about too, I mean, you were talking about death threats earlier. What I'm seeing in younger generations is when you're Catholic and when you are living out your faith, you're living out your faith. And it's not
Yeah.
like a lukewarm, like, oh, like I kind of like, I pray a couple Hail Marys every so often and I read my Bible maybe some days. It's like, am I going to step forward knowing that somebody could give me a death threat? And I feel like I'm seeing this kind of um like there's new wave of thought like people becoming Catholic isn't just like, oh, look, we've got more numbers. It's like there are people who understand like what they want, who they are in this, who they are as Catholics, and they
Mm-hmm.
are, you know, there's like a new kind of strength or like fire that comes with that. That's just like really exciting to see. Like there's, I guess, yeah, it's harder to stay like in the middle or stay mediocre now. Like people are like, I'm gonna go all the way, with my Christian Catholic faith, or I'm gonna fall away. And there's this, I don't know. I see them as like, I see that it's exciting that even if it's hard, that like there's a lot of opposition.
Yes.
There's also this kind of rising up despite opposition, which is really beautiful. So I think that's exciting as well.
Yes. Yes. I say, you know, whenever someone is possessed, whenever someone's dealing with spiritual warfare of any kind,
Mm.
um, the one church that has the best track record of dealing with demonic possessions and freeing people of demonic possessions is the Catholic Church. We have the best track record when it comes to that. Don't movies choose Catholic stories on demonic possession for a reason. Is because we have so many documents and literal historical like data on these events because we are the best church when it comes to dealing with the devil. What is the most evil thing in this world? The devil and his demons. What is the best church or the best denomination to defend yourself from these demons? What has the best track record? The Catholic Church does. So if I'm going to choose what church that I want to go to, I'm going to choose the one that the devil is the most afraid of. And that is the Catholic Church. So I'm asleep well at night knowing I'm good. I'm safe. I'm there. So if the devil absolutely hates it, then that means I'm going in the right direction.
My gosh.
So,
Okay, that is it is so true. It's so interesting. I worked at a Catholic office, like parish office for a little bit, and the phone calls we'd get, like random people who have no religion, but they'd be like,
oh
I
yeah.
need a priest to come in because like the light bulb keeps shaking and it's like not normal. Like it's we're gonna need some help. And I was like, yeah. And I've even had people who are like, look, I actually think like I'd like to be a witch or people looking into that kind of thing. Very
Hmm.
seriously looking into the wrong side of things, but they're like, just kind of checking in with me, like, can I get some holy water from you though if like stuff goes south? And I was like, you're like, like that the Catholic Church is what's gonna take care of the creepy things that you might have brought into your house. Like,
Yeah,
that there's a
absolutely.
sense of the sacramentals that we have, the authority that the priests have. Yeah, it's so cool.
Hmm.
It's which is great because I feel like there's a witchcraft is on the rise a little bit, at least in some areas of
Oh yes.
US. And so
Oh
it's
yeah.
getting sketchy. Like, no, these are real. Like there are two sides to the spiritual world. It's not safe to dabble in, but knowing that, like, yeah, like you said, we can sleep well at night knowing that there's sacramentals. Hearing exorcists talk, they talk about like how terrifying the name of Mary is to demons, like
Oh
uh,
yeah.
all of that.
Oh yeah.
Those are such good points. All right. Where can
Yeah.
people connect with you online? Follow your story, follow your content.
On Instagram, I am Gen Z to Christ underscore underscore. There's two underscores because my original Gen Z to Christ Instagram got deleted twice. This is the third one. This is the third account.
Oh
So
my
that's a whole other
goodness.
story. If you actually look on my like one of my first posts on this account on Instagram, I make a video. I have a video talking about that. But yeah. Um, so yeah, Gen Z to Christ on Instagram, Gen Z to Christ underscore underscore, and Gen Z to Christ on YouTube. And I have a Discord server called Gen Z to Christ. It's linked in my bio in my link tree, and we do Bible studies. We do have an age range on there. I'm not going to say what the age range is because people will lie about their age, but we do have an age limit. So, because just to keep things safe with people. And we do Bible studies, we do rosaries. We like literally my people in there, my members in there will like pray like 4 rosaries a day. They're crazy. They're awesome. They're so amazing. Like they do so much. I used to host rosaries for them every day, but they just do it. They just do it.
Wow.
Like so it's so cool. Um in terms of socials, that's pretty much it. I have TikTok as well, Gen Z to Christ on TikTok. I'm not very active on there, but I do TikTok as well.
Amazing. Well, thank you
Mhm.
so much for coming on the show, for sharing your passion and just the beauty of the faith, how that's it's spreading and stuff as well. So thank you so
Of
much.
course. Of course. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. I appreciate it.